We are adding the third ever crop to the Lens platform. So we started in potatoes, added corn last year, and now we'll have canola for 2025. So if you're an agronomist, grower, growing canola, wanting real-time insights on your nutrient concentration, you'll be available on our platform in 25.
Awesome, Xavier. So can you tell us a little bit more about the process of doing canola? So like we've done it with, potatoes as our initial go-to-market crop, and then we've done kind of similar things with corn. What was it like to build canola?
Yeah, so to calibrate our sensor, we're getting spectral images of the leaf structure and then correlating it to the chemical content of the leaf. So to do that, we need to go through at least 2 seasons of collecting a bunch of data. So we're scanning it with the lens, sending it for traditional chemical analysis, and then pattern matching. So for canola, we started this time last year, actually started not in Canada, not in the US, but we went all the way to Chile with a seed producer there growing canola that allowed us access to their fields, to their scouts to help calibrate the models. Then we continued that all this summer in Canada as well. So now with 2 seasons, we got our initial models up, and now it's ready to fine tune it with our clients all across Canada, all across the US.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more what was the reasoning? So like why canola is kind of the, I guess, finish off, round up the podium here? Like why not something else? What was the motivation?
Yeah, the motivation was that we have canola growers kind of part of the journey from way back when. So some of our first angel investors that believed in Picketa and what we were doing were canola growers from Saskatchewan. So Jesse YB, Chris Nikolajchin from Startup TNT are canola growers themselves, and since 2022 have been involved. So we knew there was an interest there. Started with potatoes because we're from the Maritime, we're growing potatoes, and then corn was an obvious second choice because a lot of our potato growers were also growing corn. But we knew that canola had a lot of interest backed up that we could serve. So that was the third crop.
Awesome. I was in Saskatchewan this summer, and I've seen, talked to plenty of canola growers trying to build the demand there, and seen some interesting trend. And I'm sure that, you were in Calgary a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've seen some of your own. Would you mind just kind of sharing what you're seeing?
Yeah, and initially we taught that, with potatoes, it's very high active management. Every week you're going out taking tissue samples, and every week you're doing a type of application on it. And when we're choosing the other crops to go into, we had to focus really, what's the next crop? We weren't sure really early on if we were going to do more high value crops like vineyards, other horticulture crops, things like that, where a lot of ag tech is going, or do we go more into broadacre crops? And this was an ongoing conversation, lots of data points. At the end of the day, we decided what are our current users also growing? And then what we saw with corn, which was a big surprise to us, was that actually 50% of our units last year weren't in corn. A broadacre crop or tissue sampling is not the standard. It's either like a high yield competition person or in research is where you see a lot of tissue testing outdoors. But we're seeing a couple of trends that makes tissue testing more and more relevant for that broadacre crops format, especially when you can get that data in real time, cover a lot more acres with the lens. So the first couple of trends would be looking more at split application.
Right.
So we're hearing more and more about growers split applicating. So putting some fertilizer up front, but also doing a dose at these critical times in the season. So being able to have tissue tests there is a more important because you can actually dose what you're doing based on the crop needs for your field. Then the second one is just as input prices rise, become more uncertain, there's a higher and higher bar for growers to be more efficient. So broadacre crops that used to, didn't mind a bit of overspray, didn't mind a bit of excessive fertilizer, that's really showing up in the cost. So being able to know what's going on year over year and then optimize your fertilizer to your field, your crop is becoming important, not just for those high value crops, but for every farmer, for every crop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think one more that we should add is, like you talked about, the high yielding competition, very popular in corn, but some of the micronutrients that are on the market, they can be used not just in potatoes, but broadacre crops, and the lack of tissue testing is kind of causing some uncertainties there as well, right? Or at least that's something that I've seen. So
yeah, as agronomists get more and more precise and use more microfertilizer products, especially if you get into biologicals and things, those are very more finicky than let's say nitrogen, where you'd always need nitrogen.
Yeah.
So knowing the right context and being more specific about them is becoming more and more of a need in these broadacre crops.
Yeah, well, that's a great announcement. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to mention about it, about canola, or is that it?
That's the main thing, is that if you're interested in real-time plant tissue analysis, if you're growing canola and want to get better efficiency for your crop, please reach out. We're doing real-time plant tissue analysis with the lens across Canada, across the Western United States as well, where canola is very prevalent. So yeah, please reach out.